Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I hope all of you are having a great day. We have a great guest for you today where we will be talking to the CEO and founder of, BeBop Sensors. And it's all about sensors, what they do, how they do it, and these are kind of different. And they have some very interesting pictures and demonstrations on their website. Highly recommend you go check that out. But to discuss with us, how everything works, hey, we have the perfect guy for the job. So, but before we do that, a couple of things I need to mention here for Computer America, including our website that has a link to our guest website over at computeramerica.com. It will have a link to any videos, demonstrations, pictures, articles, things like that, all available in one spot. So that if you're busy, if you have your hands tied, don't worry, we got you covered. Also, be sure to check out Computer America with the social media contest, where sponsored by Logitech. Every Friday, we give away a prize to a lucky listener. So check that out. And the last thing is, of course, the video portion, where you can watch Computer America and not just listen. Just another way to experience the show. We are a radio show, trying to make it radio friendly. But, on days such as today, they have some very cool pictures and videos and demonstrations. It's going to come in handy. So looking forward to that. And one more thing before we get to our guest, let's put on some appropriate music. Brilliant. All right. So the trumpets are blaring, and I do want to, no one else can do this for us. Computer America is entering its 27th year on the air. Right, February 1st, 1991 was our very first episode. And yeah, we are now 27 years running and super happy to be here. And hopefully, hey, another 27 more to come. But man, the show has changed, technology has changed, and hey, we're going to keep changing with it. Happy to do it and looking forward. So anyways, all that being said, why don't we just go ahead and bring on our guest who's waiting oh so patiently. And once again, Keith McMillen. He is the founder and CEO of BeBop Sensors. And Keith, thank you for joining us, and I hope you're doing well.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so you will be one of the first people in a while that hasn't had the flu. This is going to be good. So, so welcome onto the program. And I think a good place to start would be at the beginning. Tell us about BeBop Sensors and its background, and how you found yourself founding this company. What is your background?
Well, I've started and sold multiple tech companies, and they're usually associated with either sensors or audio. And about 10 years ago, I started a musical instrument company called KMI, Keith McMillen Instruments. And I needed sensors that were either very capable or could be done in a cylindrical shape. Basically, nothing out there worked. So I started experimenting with fabric-based sensors. And the music products, huge hit. We have people from Led Zeppelin, Herbie Hancock, Stevie Wonder, everyone using the products. And then about 5 years ago, some exoskeleton companies approached us, some health companies, some sports companies saying, hey, those sensors really look good. They could work for our projects. Mm-hmm. And I found all kinds of other applications. So then we spun out BeBop Sensors 4 years ago to service those other applications. And when you think about it, the incredible growth of AI, artificial intelligence, has allowed computers to see, they can listen to us, and that's because they have cameras and microphones. But they really can't feel us. It's because they don't have sensors that are appropriate for humans. And if you look around, I'm wearing fabric, I'm sitting on it, I'm standing on it, our cars that have it on the inside. So fabric-based sensors, sensors that don't have to be flat or rigid, are perfect for understanding humans and their postures and attitudes. So we've been able to grow a complete line of solutions for everything from automotive to medical to even gaming AR, VR gloves.
Very, very interesting because, being able to gather new kinds of data and I guess more accurately because, you give a couple demonstrations here. We're going to watch them as we talk, but let's take, I'll let you choose actually which one you find is, people can kind of easily relate to and the implications of the data that you can kind of receive. Like, let's take, maybe steering wheels or medical or something like that. Why is it so important to have good sensors?
Well, let's pick one that actually saves lives. And this is a sensor that goes into the seat of your car, mostly for passengers, that controls the airbag. The sensors in there now are about 30 years old, and all they can tell is that there's some mass on the seat. And let's say you're leaning forward to tie your shoe and you have an accident, the airbag will go off and actually either damage you or kill you. And this happens hundreds, if not thousands of times a year. Our sensors can go into the seat of a car, and it knows everything about your posture, if you're leaning left, right, forward, if in fact it's a child's seat or just a gym bag left on the chair. And with this information, we can make automotive safety more effective, and airbags will know more about who's in the seat that they're protecting.
I got
That's
you.
an example, I think, that has a wide application.
Yeah, no, I pulled up the video that you have here, and again, highly encourage everyone to go out there and check out the website. But you can see where you had it looked like hundreds of little data points, and it gave like a pressure sensor. Very, very impressive. I mean, how real time is that data? When you hook it into systems, is it just kind of looking back, it can tell you that, or are you finding, maybe the airbag deployment system will, kind of delay or not be as severe, depending on the data that it receives?
That's a great question. Airbags deploy in 20 to 30 thousandths of a second, 20 to 30 milliseconds. And our sensors operate in single digits, like 3 or 4 milliseconds. So we can actually give the airbag system real-time data about the occupant as a collision unfolds. And this data can then cause other systems like the side curtain or other safety devices to activate at an appropriate time. It is a real-time sensor, and that just opens up all kinds of possibilities for improving safety.
I gotcha. Sounds great. So, we have a question here. I'm not sure which one of these products is your newest product, but which one of these is the newest?
The newest would be the data glove. We showed that at CES a few weeks ago, and we had hundreds of people try it. It's the first appropriate data glove for modern gaming and other VR and AR applications. It has bend sensors using our fabric for each of the fingers, and we have haptic feedback in the fingertips and in the palm. It's one size fits all. It'll sell retail for the same price as other controllers from other companies. And VR has always been navigated with a data glove. It's just been very hard to build one that actually works, is affordable, and one size fits all. So I've actually been working on this for a long time. What we're offering now is our 5th generation attempt, but it seems to work. We had hundreds of people try it every day at CES, and it worked for everybody. We were really pleased.
That's very cool. No, CES is a great way to to show your stuff, and we just looked at the video there. What I really liked was that current controllers for virtual reality and things like that, I'm sure that you know better than anyone, is that it's very much like a gaming controller. They have triggers, they have joysticks, they have button inputs. It's very kind of binary and not natural. I think for a lot of application that you immerse yourself in this world, and then you have to remember to run. I got to hold this trigger and press whatever. This glove looks very, very natural. It has the finger joints. It has all that good stuff. I mean, how intuitive is it for new people to come in and actually use it? Because, other controllers, they do have a bit of a learning curve.
No, you summarized that very well. Each controller is different. None of the actions are intuitive. With a data glove, if you want to go somewhere, you just point and you go there. If there's a sword or ammunition above you and you want to possess it, you just grab it. There's nothing to learn. Plus, you get this tactile feedback. So when you do grab something or touch something, your fingertips and palm are activated with these little drivers. So you get a sensory feedback that completely closes the loop and makes the AR and VR experience more real.
Now, the haptic feedback, obviously a huge part of this. I'm not sure of the severity of it. I mean, like, there are games, or there are games where you take a grenade, you cook it, or you hold it for longer so it explodes a shorter distance. Let's say you hold that grenade too long in your hand. Does the haptic feedback blow off your hand? Like, how severe can the haptic feedback get?
Well, there are different types of feedback. There's something called force feedback, where like you'd actually feel resistance from a wall or something. That requires, hundreds of watts, horsepowers, and of pressure, and is not at all portable. We're providing like the tactile component, like how something feels. And if something went off in your hand, you'd feel an impulse that would be very sharp in all your fingers and palm. And we actually record audio from the devices that are in the virtual world, that are represented by the virtual objects, whether it's something explosive, whether it's a rough surface, whether it's someone slapping the hilt of a sword into your hand. We record those audio files and play them back into your fingertips and palm. And it's very convincing. It won't hurt you, but it will definitely close the loop on the illusion.
So, you said hundreds of people at CES. What was the general feedback? Did they come back and say, I wish this was a bit more immediate? Was this, was it strong enough? I mean, what was the general feedback from this? Because this is like what you've built here is kind of the holy grail for controlling VR.
It was without fail positive. I think people were so excited to put something on that worked right away, was totally accurate and fast. We have like a little shooter demo, and everything happens in a few milliseconds, faster than the frame rate of the video in the head-mounted displays. So it's immediate. And once you have something that is immediate to human perception, you can embrace it. And people got into it. First time haptics fired, people jumped a little bit, a few of them. But everyone felt satisfied, and everyone felt that they were being attended to, that this was a one-to-one relationship between what they were doing and what they were seeing.
That is exactly what you want. So tell me about which, because especially at CES and, hey, just technology the way it is, there's a lot of different markets that are looking for something, like you're offering here. Video games are, of course, a natural fit, but then you have things like training, simulation, in a business setting, and many, many others. Which markets do you think are going to be most receptive to your product?
Well, I think gaming is a big one, but everyone knows that AR and VR is growing, and it'll be here soon, but it hasn't really, crossed that divide. So yeah, training and navigating spaces. We have automotive companies that want to be able to travel around a virtual new car or go into an interior and see how it looks. Real estate people who want to be able to look at new designs and architects' work. Also, like training fast food workers. You bring someone in from the street, you really don't want to put them in front of a vat of boiling oil or a grill. Right. You can do that now virtually and get them completely trained up before exposing them to the workplace.
All right, so I have a demonstration. Feel free to take this home, free of charge. But we have an article here for the second part of the show that we're going to do. It's about surrogates in Japan. People are getting paid to strap a tablet on their face and walk into a room, and essentially the person video conferencing on the tablet is sitting comfy at home, and the person who is the surrogate has to stand there looking like an idiot. So obviously there's some need for business meetings that take place virtually. but they still want that physical feedback of, shaking a hand or, having some kind of presence in a room. Have you ever tried this thing with, maybe like a virtual handshake where, you actually feel like you're grabbing someone's hand and shaking it?
We have tried that, and people initially find it a little creepy because it's kind of it's not violating your space, but you do feel something that is new, and it takes people a little while to get used to these things. But I think we need all of these elements to help stitch together a virtual presence, and of course, high quality video, fast enough to not cause any nausea and not have delays when you turn your head. All of these things are incrementally growing to very, very usable and stable platforms. So I think we're going to see a lot more experiments like you described and a lot more applications where people will be able to literally reach out and touch someone.
Right. Yeah. That's going to be a huge part of it. Talk about some of the technical specifics of it. How long does the battery last? What's it compatible with right now? Some of those things.
Yeah. We're all lazy consumers, so the battery has to last at least a couple days, longer than your cell phone. And it'll also run off of a USB cable. So if you are having a marathon long weekend of gaming, you can opt out. It charges quickly enough in an hour that probably would not be a problem. As I mentioned, it is one size fits all. We found that the retail stores don't want to have garments returned, and they do consider this a garment. So we spent a lot of time making that happen, and it was kind of like making a three-piece suit that would fit everybody, but it seems like we've accomplished that. And just the ease of use really will help project all of this stuff into usability.
Right. So, and we are checking out, again, some of your videos there, and we do have a picture of what the glove looks like. But for everyone out there listening on radio, I should not be forgetful of them. Could you describe what the glove actually looks like and the components of it?
Yeah. So they're like little finger caps that go on the tips of your fingers and thumb. And then you slip your hand into a strap, and then there's what we call the palm strap, which presses the palm haptic up against the inside of your palm. And then there's a back part of the glove that goes on the back of your hand that contains the electronics, the battery, the Bluetooth transceiver. And then there's a Velcro wrist strap. And you just pull that down, wrap it around, and you're ready to go. The first time you try it on, people, takes them 10, 15 seconds. And after that, it's as easy as putting on a normal glove.
So the demonstration that we're seeing here shows just the one glove, and that's great and all, but people conveniently have two hands. Does this work in pairs?
Absolutely. We decided to finish one of them before making the other, and we have accomplished that. So we will certainly be providing pairs of gloves, and the electronics in the right glove actually fits in the left glove. So we're most of the way there. But we definitely wanted to get all the bugs wrinkled out and get all of the affirmations from the market about what we're doing before we did it a second time.
So you say that you have the bugs. You say that you have the bugs, all cleaned out. When are you hoping to make this available to people? And how? In what way are you hoping to get it to people? Because this, we've seen accessories for VR, AR. They're hit and miss, and they, when they come through different distributors, people don't really take notice of them if they come through an official channel. When will it be available, and how are you hoping to get it to people?
Well, right now we're building hundreds of them to get to platforms, game platforms, and also game developers. We will not sell these directly to end users. At least that's the plan now. And the platform and game companies will put their brand on it and sell it to their users. And they will provide the integration. They're the ones who know what needs to happen in their present games and what their roadmap is for future games. So we're going to rely on the experts to do the integration and the marketing.
And you're hoping to get this out to those people in the next couple of months by the end of the year?
Oh, in the next couple of months, in the next 6 weeks, probably.
Oh, wow. That's not too shabby, not too shabby. So, all right, that's awesome. And trust me, I think that you probably know better than most. This is something that they're really, really hopeful for because currently, they have these essentially joysticks that are loaded with sensors, and they work right now and they're pretty fun to use, but at the same time, they're not intuitive. So again, you're fixing that. So all right, so not too many ways that you can kind of twist and contort a glove with sensors that lets you control things virtually. That makes perfect sense. Talk about some of your other products, and you have a wide range of them. Just glancing at your website here, you have some that fit into shoes, some that wrap around cylindrical surfaces, some that go into helmets. Talk about some of your other products, and you can kind of see how
Yeah.
that led to gloves.
Well, in some medical applications, we're working with one of the largest wheelchair companies in the world. People who occupy wheelchairs often build up pressure sores from not being able to move around, and we have a sensor similar to what's in the automotive seat that will alert their caregiver to move them and relocate them so they're comfortable and more safe. We also have insoles that can go into any shoe and also give us data from about 20 different pressure points. And these operate very quickly. And from there, you can determine a person's gait, if they're pronating, if they're landing on the ball or heel of their foot. And there are a lot of research projects out there that can take this data and do incredible things with them now. Like AI has made all of these magical things real. And they can look for onset of like a diabetic episode a day before it happens. They can start to see indications of instability that might predate a stroke. So there's a lot of things that can be learned just from how you walk. And if you go into a doctor's office for certain types of ailments, they'll just have you walk forward and backwards, and they'll observe your gait. So now this can be done electronically. If there's any indications of problems, that can be put into the cloud so your caregiver can respond. It's just a way of viewing humans. We really have not had anything that is flexible, comfortable, lightweight, long-lived, and very accurate. This kind of sensor just, opens up this whole idea of computers feeling how we move and act and behave.
Yeah, I remember going to CES a couple of years ago, and like that was the year that I think we dubbed it the year of the sensor, where you had like ceiling fans that had sensors with temperature, motion, air quality, things like that, and these devices would activate themselves or regulate themselves based on sensors. And we saw a lot of companies kind of take that and run with it, and now we have the Internet of Things, which is to the nth degree, where you not only have sensors, but you actually act on the data and let machines kind of control themselves based on that data. One thing though that like I'm looking at all these and I see some here you have for kind of sports applications. You have some here for like you said medical. How viable is this? Because it has to be cheap and it has to be mass produced, and that's a hard thing to really do for new technology. How viable is this in the near future that everything's going to have a sensor in it?
Well, I've been building products with these sensors for almost 10 years. The music company has about 10 products that use these sensors, and there's hundreds of thousands of them out there. And there's no one more demanding and abusive than a musician, and they're cheap. They really they don't make any money, so they can't spend any money. So we've been able to satisfy the most demanding group of people with the least expensive product that has the most features and longevity. We drive trucks over these things in our videos for the music company. And so all of that is known. We have millions of sensors in daily use, regular daily use. So we know that they behave, we know how to build them, and we know how to protect them from the environment and make them comfortable and easy to use.
And then I guess the next part is, of course, having fast enough computers built into things and small enough and portable enough to actually use and then implement the data. So we're fast approaching it.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just gathering the data, doing a simple pass over it, and then sending it out to the cloud. And we all know cloud computing is solving huge quantities of problems that are incredibly complex. So our part is just to gather and prepare the data, and then send it somewhere where a greater intelligence will be employed.
Right. Um, and by the way, I totally caught that line. I didn't react to it, but they don't make any money, so they can't spend it. I like that. But anyway, so musicians aside, why don't we talk about what's coming up for BeBop sensors? Because this glove seems like a great step forward. Many of your other products show that they are very, very viable for a wide range of applications. Seems like the world is your oyster. Where do you go?
Well, we are building a glove for manufacturing. Like if someone's putting something together and they push on it to put it in place, it'd be nice to know how much force was needed to put it in place. So we have contracts where we're designing gloves that will sense the inside of the hands when they push on something. And those gloves can certainly be used in automotive assembly lines, other assembly lines, moving inventory. But that same glove can be used for golf to understand your grip. We have requests from people doing weightlifting and training weightlifters so they can understand how they're holding the bar and how the weight is distributed. Pretty much anywhere a human interacts with another object, we can exist in that very small space, less than a millimeter, and understand the relationship between the human and the object. So it is kind of limited by imagination, but also limited by business models so that people understand how they can sell these and make money and use the data properly. And I'd say the last 6 months, the world's really snapped to in understanding that this product and this technology exists. And we've really been just buried with requests and new deals. So it's been very exciting for us.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. I'm trying to think of a company we had on a month or two ago, and I think it was New Data. And they were working on a product that it would measure tiny, minute little details of a person. Like if they're sitting in front of a monitor, they would measure, where the person looked. They would measure if the person used tab or clicks to change fields, like tiny little things to verify a person's identity. And I could see like a product such as yours rolling into that, where not only like even if you got all of their tiny mannerisms correct. If you weighed 30 pounds more by sitting in their chair, it wouldn't activate into their account and it would keep things safer. I mean, yeah, you're right. These sensors, I think once they're available and cheap and easy to implement, you have a lot of different applications. So that's exciting. And hey, I'm excited for you.
Well, thank you. We've really been fortunate in being able to get into this technology 10 years ago. So we've perfected most of the aspects of it. We've patented many components, about 30 patents, and we're still amazed that we're the only ones that are offering a solution, and we'll do everything we can to keep that true.
Absolutely. So if people want to find out more, where can they go? What's your website?
BeBopSensors.com. And we picked the name BeBop because our roots are from music, and we just wanted that to be carried forward.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And everyone, we have a link to that in the show notes, computeramerica.com, link directly there. And and in the meantime, I will say, Keith, that again, this is super exciting, and I'm happy that you could come on and explain the state of sensors to our listeners, because a lot of our listeners are consumers, and we really, don't really hear about this side of it. But I think this is the fun side of technology. So once again, thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
All right. So, and until next time, we'll be in touch. But until next time, have a great day. Later. All right. So everyone, there he goes. There's Keith. And and once again, that is, let's get the full name here, Mr. Keith McMillen. He is the founder and CEO of BeBop Sensors. And yeah, if you want to find more, BeBopSensors.com, or check out the show notes. Everyone, there you go. That I think that's a very exciting product. And it's more about the application of it. Video games aside, there's probably a lot more to it. So with that being said, everyone, music means we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more Computer America as we jump into computer and technology news, where we have a couple of stories from cryptocurrency to new products to existing products. Everyone, be right back. Stay tuned.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is, 31 minutes past the hour as we continue on. And everyone, while we get things worked out here, from our side, we do, of course, want to give a shout out to our new sponsor, Other World Computing, OWC. We have a link to them over at computeramerica.com. And again, they're a new sponsor as we, and by the way, their website is owcdigital.com. And they have a bunch of products that you can go check out. We recently did of their Mercury Elite Pro hard drive. 3 terabyte, works beautifully, looks great. And yeah, you can check that out. But they have everything from, from RAM to external storage, solid state drives to docks, chassis, and more. So everyone, go check them out, owcdigital.com. And again, you'll be hearing more of them in the months. So with that being said, everyone, we are going to go ahead and talk about computer and technology. And this is a segment dedicated to breaking news of the day, everything technology that we can find that, hey, we feel you should really know about. So here we go, computer and technology news. There we go. All right, so I think our first story was one that we kind of picked up yesterday, but we didn't get a chance to, and I really would like to pick it up. So I don't know about you guys, but if you have flown in the past couple of months or even the past year, one of my new favorites, airline flight management systems, I've tried a lot. I've tried everything from kayak to others out there that I'm sure I am forgetting, but you always gotta try out the new ones, and you gotta try out multiple ones because you want the cheapest airline, you want the ticket, you want the best reservation, blah blah blah. And last time I flew, I did it with Google Flights. They were super simple because everything, essentially the Google search bar worked, and if you were signed into your account, the Google search bar worked as essentially your itinerary. So, you could make notes or just simply Google search your plane, your airport, things like that, and you get a lot of very useful information. Super easy to use. Loved using it. Now, they have a new feature. I've not tried this one out, but it's exciting, where Google Flights will now predict airline delays before the airlines. So welcome to the day and age of big data, but looks like Google has this now. So here we go, saying that Google is rolling out a few features for its Google Flights search engine to help travelers tackle some of the more frustrating aspects of air travel, where delays and the complexities of cheaper basic economy fares. And with regard to the delays, Google Flights won't just be pulling the information directly from the airline. They said that it will take advantage of its understanding of historical data and its machine learning algorithm. So buzzwords there, but there you go. Saying that they will predict delays that haven't yet been flagged by the airlines themselves. And here we go. So how Google does this, they explain that with a combination of data and AI technology, they can predict some delays in advance of any sort of official confirmation. Google says that it won't actually flag these in the app until they're at least 80% confident of their prediction, though. And of course, you should still go to the airport on time. But with Google, hey, you may at least not be so alarmed when your flight is delayed. And the more lead time you get to that, the better off you're going to be as a traveler. So, yep, you can track the status of your flight by searching for your flight number and the airline and the flight route, and the delay information will then appear in the search results. So pretty darn cool. I mean, breaking that down into what Google's actually doing, it sounds like, maybe if the airline or that particular route has a history of delays, it can pretty much say, hey, this is going to be 15 minutes late. It usually is. And by indication, and like the more people that use Google Flights, the more data that Google is then picking up about flight patterns, because these things will people feed in the data of when the boarding pass is scanned. They know when takeoff actually happens through the gyroscopes inside of the phone, because hey, there's only one way that that phone will be traveling at 700 miles an hour, and that would be if you're on a flight. Between that and rolling in, I don't know, maybe some weather prediction, rolling in other factors. But essentially, the more people that use this service and this product, the better at predicting Google is going to get, until the point where, yeah, it's going to be able to predict things before even the airlines can, because the airlines don't have all the data that Google has. So there you go. The next part of this whole Google Flight thing that I definitely like, because trust me, I have flown on some basic airlines. And the things that you pay for, when you get onto a plane and the lady with the cart comes by and you say, oh, can I get a water? And she says, oh, that'll be $2. And you say, never mind, I really don't need water that bad. Yeah, I've flown basic, and what is included and not included can be a little tricky to figure out. So, this is their other feature that they added today, and they say that they aim to help travelers make sense of what basic economy fares include and exclude in their ticket price. And folks, when that plane ticket says, half the price of another ticket, read the fine print, because it's excluding quite a few things. So these low cost fares are often the only option for travelers on a budget, but they have a number of restrictions that can vary by airline. So Google Flights will now display the restrictions associated with these fares, like restrictions on using overhead space or the ability to select a seat, as well as the fare's additional baggage fee. And that it's initially doing so for American, Delta, and United flights worldwide. So, yep, they have if you're watching the video portion, they have a demonstration there where, hey, it kind of outlines what's included and what's not. That's super important, because if you're looking to travel on a budget, even though the cheapest airline ticket may pop up first, if let's say you're going to be bringing 2 checked bags, then it may be cheaper with another airline that includes 2 checked bags, but maybe a little bit more expensive than it would be to go with the other one. So, it's hey, it's all a game of information, and Google seems to do a pretty good job of correlating that data. So, let's see. So, yeah, they said that the features are also a real-world demo of Google's machine learning and big data capabilities, especially in the case of predicting flight delays. And since you can't take action on the alerts until the airline makes an official announcement, they will largely just cause more anxiety on top of your already stressful travel experience. So, yep. And again, that was an article from TechCrunch, and yeah, I like it. Again, it's Google flexing its muscles on how much data it can actually analyze in real time, and how it can use the artificial intelligence to make it all make sense to the end user. But yeah, I found that one pretty darn cool. So, all right, there's that article. Let's move over to our next, and we have a couple. I don't know. Do I want to scare you guys? I think I do. I think I do. So, actually, we'll do this one, and then we'll do the scary one. So here's one that I alluded to in the first segment of the show, and yeah, this is coming to us from bustle.com, and it's as silly as it looks. The human Uber service in Japan is sending surrogates with tablets on their faces to events for people who can't attend. Yeah, it's someone strapping a tablet to their face. Because, for a while now, we've seen the services, or at least the products, that essentially had a tablet on a pole that was attached to a Segway. And, I've seen those use great effect in some situations. This one, though, actually, takes the effort saved by a person by telecommuting and makes another person spend that same energy but be totally anonymous and faceless. So there you have it. So here we go. This is, again, Bustle, Mia Mercado, and saying that you can do just about everything. You can have just about anything delivered to your doorstep. And, well, Japan is working on having human Ubers deliver people to other people's doorsteps. And this was debuted at MIT Tech Review's MTech conference in Asia. And the human Uber works like this. A surrogate person straps an iPad-like screen to their face to physically fill in for another person. And the screen would then show the remote person's live face, and its speakers would transmit their voice. So the technology used in the human Uber is known as Chameleon Mask, and it's a video and they have a video that shows that the surrogate user mimics the remote user by following remote user's directions. So essentially, the person tells the surrogate user where to look, where to point, where to touch. It's not just a picture of someone's face. They're actually essentially controlling the person that is wearing the device. So the sensory experience is limited to sight and sound, as you might expect. Unfortunately, technology does not come with touch, taste, or smell-o-vision. So the new technology initially caught the internet's attention after an MIT review writer shared some initial pictures of the human Uber in a tweet. And the photos of the tech in use are about as hilariously unsettling as you might expect. Yeah, absolutely. So it doesn't help that he's kind of wearing a suit and the surrogate's kind of wearing pajamas, but yeah, there you go. So anyways, the article's a bit long and we're going to wrap it up there, but yeah, you can kind of say this kind of makes sense. I mean, it's a different area over there. It's a different area and environment over there in Japan, where being able to interact with someone face to face, that's still highly prized, and the more humanized you can make technology, the better. And I guess this was one thing that kind of caught on over there, where you are humanizing it in a way that an actual human is carrying your technology. So I don't think that this is a future career path for people, but I do think it's pretty interesting in an unsettling way. So, all right, there's that article. Let's do that scary one now. So there are things called distributed denial of service attacks. This is a form of hacking that is incredibly simple, where you take a computer, you take it over, you have a botnet, and it's made up of infected home and small office routers, or other devices that can essentially send web traffic to a particular gateway, just like you do every single day when you surf the web naturally. But when you do so, it's the amount of bandwidth that one user requests isn't that much. It's very, very simple, and under normal traffic, most websites can hold their own. But when these botnets come up, and we're going to talk about how big they're getting and how easy they are getting, when you have, 70 million devices or 30 million devices, 100 million devices, you have 100 million devices usually asking for the largest amount of information an average user can request. And like one of those is like a ping record, where you'll ping a service and you ask for all the information about that ping and you have it sent back to you. And then they have a way of kind of snowballing that request so that even more data is transmitted from one to the next to the next. And you're left with a service that it's impossible to cope. The service is left impossible to cope with the amount of data that is requested, and the whole thing comes crashing down. We've seen this attack on government websites. We've seen this attack on Google, on Blizzard, on gaming companies, search companies, airlines. Again, it's so simple, it's hard to mitigate, and it's not hard to do, and getting less so. So let's do this article here. This one from Ars Technica. And Dan Gooden says that new Internet of Things botnet offers DDoSes once unimaginable sizes for $20. That's right. So, organizers of a new botnet made up of infected home and small office routers are brazenly selling denial of service attacks for once unimaginable volumes for just $20, and calling itself Los Calvos de San Calviche, I assume. The group is advertising several services on its site, and among the services are distributed denial of service attacks of 290 to 300 gigabits per second for $20 each. Crazy. So, while a third of the size of the biggest recorded attack, 290 gigabits is still enough to bring down most sites. It's still enough to bring most sites down unless they seek DDoS mitigation services, which in many cases cost considerable money. And just 5 years ago, 300 gigabits per second was considered enough volume to shut down the internet's core structure. Luckily, it has grown. We've gotten more robust, but yeah, it has grown incredibly fast. So they said that the members have been spotted assembling a botnet in recent days that very possibly has the firepower required to deliver the potent attacks promised, when they sell it. So, according to Pascal Greenens, a researcher at the security firm Radware, the group is building the botnet by exploiting two vulnerabilities. Here is the part that should scare a lot of people, was that, when you were assembling this kind of botnet, you didn't have access to the amount of hardware needed to pull something like this off. But here's how they're exploiting these things, and simple scripts. You can gather more devices than ever before. They said one in a Realtek router running out of date firmware, and the other is a Huawei HD 532 router. So Realtek and Huawei, they have a patch that was released in December, but many users have not updated it. So take note, in both cases, they're exploiting routers that have not patched to the latest firmware update. Definitely have to do that if you don't want to be caught up in something like this. And trust me, they're looking for, take it back. They're not even looking for unprotected routers. Instead, they have automated programs that go out and find out-of-date routers, and they automatically take control of them and put them in the botnet. This is done super easily and done every day. Folks, update. So they said that unlike most of the IoT botnets seen so far, they're saying that which use a handful of non-IoT servers to scan the internet for vulnerable devices, They said that I'm sorry, unlike most of the IoT botnets so far, the one tracked by Greenins uses a handful of non-IoT servers to scan the internet for vulnerable devices and, once found, exploit them. So that makes it much harder to estimate the number of infected devices, and that makes up Gen X because simulated vulnerable routers Greenins use laboratory to track the botnet see the same limited number of attack servers. So I guess, by only having a dozen, 2 dozen attack servers, but then you have potentially hundreds of thousands or millions of routers on the back end feeding the traffic through the servers, you are mitigating the information sent that you can compromise your own botnet. So, let's see. So let's go ahead and skip on down, and we're going to switch over from this. But here we go. A quote saying that the potential for this botnet is comparable to Satori as it uses the exact same exploits. However, the growth rate of this bot will not be as high as Satori because, well, Satori is using bots that scan and exploit by themselves. So more bots, more scanners, more victims, and even more bots, even more scanners, so on for exponential growth. The Gen X botnet uses servers for the scanning and exploiting devices, so growth will be less than linear. But by adding more servers, they can make it grow faster, but never will be as efficient or aggressive as Mirai, Satori, or Reaper. And these were other botnets. Reaper, I believe, was the one that delivered the massive one. That was either Reaper or Satori. Either way, it's a big problem. And if you don't want to be caught up in this, you don't want your internet traffic to be, seized, then all you have to do is keep your routers up to date. And hey, we cannot say update enough. It's I know it's a pain in the butt, but it's a security risk you should really try to exercise. All right, there's that article. Plenty more to do. Running out of time though, and all right, let's do Equifax because while I don't particularly take joy in companies that are failing to protect their users, the way that we've seen Equifax respond to its hack just a couple of months ago. That's right, this happened in like August or September, if you all remember. Seems like a year ago, but no. Anyways, they haven't been responding to it very well, and looks like they still have some ways to go. So this is from John Fingus and Gadget, and yeah, the only thing Equifax's new credit app locks is itself. And saying that Equifax still appears to have trouble wrapping its head around the concept of trustworthy software following its massive security data breach. And the company has launched its promised free credit report locking service, Lock and Alert, but there's one overriding problem, saying that at least initially, the mobile app associated with it doesn't appear to work, and that the New York Times and Ars Technica both report pervasive problems with the app, ranging from the basic login to, locking your credit report altogether. And in the New York Times case, the tester gave up after the locking attempt stalled 5 times in a row. And a company spokesperson told the New York Times that it hadn't heard of widespread issues, but did say it was working on isolated problems. I guess the reporter for the New York Times would be a very troublesome, isolated problem to have. So it's a good thing that the company has extended its free credit freezes until June 30th then, and you could go the more traditional route until Equifax has hopefully sorted things out. So the one consolation, Equifax is avoiding one of the legal mistakes it made early on when it implied that you gave up the right to sue by using a site that could tell you whether or not you were a victim. Yeah, that was the thing Equifax tried. If you guys don't remember, in their terms of service by using service lookup to see if you were vulnerable, and then the following credit lock to protect yourself. If you use that service, you were giving up your right to sue them. So they said that they tells you right away that you'll never be forced into arbitration and that your ability to lock your credit won't change. So while Equifax does waive liability for glitches, you won't be without recourse if the lock itself doesn't work. So there you go. So Equifax still struggling, and again, don't take pride in companies not doing so well, but it does goes to show that they're working on it and they're trying their best. Bless their heart. All right, we have we have time for just one more story. I don't feel like cryptocurrency, so instead we're gonna talk about Waymo. Waymo, they have been making a lot of news. They've been building up their fleet. They just ordered like 10,000 more SUVs to be outfitted with autonomous technology. And, well, we have another report. This is, this coming from Mariella Moon at Engadget, saying that it ramped up testing over the past year to prepare for its ride-hailing fleet's launch. So over 2 million autonomous miles. That's pretty darn good. That is pretty darn good. So they said that Waymo's vehicles drove 2 million miles in self-driving mode across 25 cities in 2017. And they said that that puts their total autonomous miles up to 4 million. Why is this so important? That's important because the data collected from the miles driven, every time it encounters something that it couldn't encounter in a lab setting or in a test track setting, every time someone runs out in front of it, every time a car runs a red light, every time something happens that can't be tested for, again, in a lab setting, that data is saved, internalized, and put to good use. So it has now 4 million miles of driving experience to call on whenever it runs into one of those situations that it hasn't strictly been programmed for. So they they said that they used it to gather as much data as possible in order to improve its technology, where the annual report submitted to the government of California, where Waymo drove 352,000 miles in the Golden State from December to November 2017, December 2016, November 2017, and within that period, the company reported a total of 63 disengagements where the human test driver had to step in. So 63 instances in the course of a year where the driver had to take over from the car. Not half bad, which means that the vehicle drove on average about 5,595 miles every disengagement. So it could go about 6,000 miles within cities. This isn't just some weird highway driving. Within cities before a human had to say, well, looks like this is cutting it too close or what have you. So, yep, there you go. Let's see. While its disengagement rate fell 0.02 points from 0.18. From 0.2 to 0.18 over the 12-month period. All these numbers indicate that Waymo is still ahead of its peers, and we see that everything from GM to Uber to Lyft to more, they're still working on it, but they're not as close as it is. So, anyways, there you have it. Waymo, the leader, and you can check that out. All right, everyone. We are just about done. Thank you for joining us, and I'm happy that you could tune in tomorrow on the program as we talk with, well, I'm sure you've heard their name before, McAfee. Yep, we're going to talk about McAfee, what they've done out at CES, what they're showing off, and the state of anti-malware as we know it. So tune in tomorrow. Again, McAfee, happy to have them on. And folks, until next time, thank you for joining us. Have a great one. Catch you later. Bye-bye.